Welcome back to Good Morning Let's Basketball. Thank you guys for so much support we've been getting these past few weeks. Make sure to check our reels out that we've been posting on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. We've been including clips from the podcast and also making fun interactive reels for you guys to enjoy. And in some news recently, Team USA has lost to Germany, and Germany won the FIBA World Cup. Now, I know Noah Lyles is probably the happiest man alive, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on what you guys thought when the Team USA lost.
I don't want to say I was surprised that they lost to Germany, just because the fact that a lot of these international teams always train and play together throughout the year. And it's not like Germany or even Serbia, because they played Serbia in the final, are bad teams at all. They actually have a lot of like great players on them. And Team USA, they did lose 111 to 113. The game came down to the wire. I was actually watching a little bit of it, and I was I don't even want to say surprised that Germany won, just because they played such a great game and they did end up going to win the FIBA World Cup. So definitely congratulations to them and Dennis Schroeder for he was named the number one player in the whole tournament. But one piece of news that's kind of catching everyone's mind is the comment LeBron made about possibly joining Team USA. And that's all every NBA player needed to hear is if LeBron's going to play, then everyone else is going to play because that's how it is. LeBron plays, basically runs the NBA. When
You know what
LeBron
he
retires,
did?
I want
He
wait.
pulled he
But
pulled the Optimus Prime and called all the Autobots out. It was like, we're gonna be winning the FIBA World Cup next year.
I mean, pretty much, yeah. Like I was saying, like all it takes is for like LeBron to pretty much just join for everyone else to follow him. I mean, same thing happened in the bubble we talked about a while ago when they had that players only meeting, and LeBron wasn't sure if he wanted to play. And Udonis Haslam stepped up and said, "If Bron's out, so are the Miami Heat." If LeBron retires, I won't be surprised if the NBA just shuts down, closes for business. To be honest, because people love this man. But yeah, with LeBron hopefully joining the Olympics in 2024, players are definitely going to follow. Devin Booker also expressed some interest in possibly taking on a more role player of a role to play for the team because I feel like that's definitely what they need. Is yeah, you can get like all these other stars on your team, but you also kind of need those other players to kind of play a role for the team, not so much everyone trying to be the number one guy, which is why I feel like Team USA kind of struggles a little bit. So yeah, I feel like it's going to be good. It's definitely going to be his last Olympics he's probably ever going to be able to play in just because of age. He'll be 38, 39 at the time. So it'll definitely be his last ride. And hopefully he can assemble the Avengers, such as like KD, Tatum, guys like Booker, AD. I saw freaking ESPN made a post earlier today about a potential starting lineup for the Olympics, and they had Joel Embiid in the lineup, which makes no fucking sense. He's not even from America. He would probably
See,
play for Cameroon.
but that's what I don't get either is because Paulo, I don't know if you saw the shit where he's half Italian and he said he was gonna play for the Italian team, and then he decided to play for Team USA, and then Italy got pissed.
Yeah, but Paulo is also born in America. Like he's
Mhm.
Italian because his dad is
Yeah.
his dad like played over there, so he really didn't have anything to owe Italy. Like I don't know why the Italian president or whoever the fuck got pissed off
No,
at him for it. He's not
it's
even an
because
Italian. And
he like said he was gonna play for them and then backed out.
oops, yeah, maybe he should have went, but it's not like Team USA won or made it or anything. But I can't even think of another like Italian player that's on that country's team. I'm sure there's someone that I'm missing, but they didn't make it, so they're
Marco
irrelevant.
Bellinelli.
Bellinelli, he still plays.
I don't know.
He's fucking a fossil at this point. Chicago Bulls legend for sure.
Yeah, for real.
But like I said, that's about the only player I have at the top of my mind. But yeah, with Team USA hopefully making a comeback next year, all the stars getting their heads out of their own asses and coming to play for their country would be very much appreciated. Then they can call themselves world champs. You know, another big stir up that people have had. You just said something about Noah Lyles. He's definitely kicking his feet in the air right now that Team USA lost. Sorry, no one gives a shit about track, but yeah,
Giannis actually just came out today and said that he's on his side.
yeah. I mean, a lot of players have also said that too, like Evan Fournier. I think Greg Popovich even said it too, but
Yeah.
I think we talked about it last week too, the Gilbert Arenas podcast. how one dude said one of the teams he played for, Lebanon Commitment, could possibly beat the Denver Nuggets, and then Steven Jackson and then Gilbert Arenas basically told him to fucking leave the set,
I saw
which
that
is,
shit. That was hilarious.
yeah, it was the perfect response you could have given the guy. It's just bogus. But yeah, like I said, I want to see another stacked Team USA team play in the Olympics. It's a lot of fun to watch. But yeah, like I said, all it took was one player to say they were going to play, and fortunately, it was LeBron, so everyone's going to follow him. So I think next year we will see the best of the best playing for Team USA.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, obviously, on pretty much every point that you guys made. I would say that the biggest question now is whether or not these guys can play well together next year. You know, you got a lot of personalities and a lot of different individual styles of play. Throwing that all together and then playing a completely different style of ball. I know Kevin has mentioned it before that FIBA rules are different and that obviously that takes some time to get used to. So, you know, for a lot of these guys, it may be their first or it may be not a once in a lifetime opportunity, but in a lot of ways it could be a one and done type of thing. Like, you know, has Curry ever been on the Olympic on the
He
team?
he does not have a gold medal.
But
I think
he played on it?
I can't remember what it was exactly, but I think he's played on it, but I don't think they won.
Right.
I'm
Well,
gonna look that up right
even
now.
so, regardless, the point still stands. Or what I was trying to say is, you know, for guys like Curry, probably going to be a one and done type of situation. They're going to come in, win themselves a gold medal, and then go home and you know sit comfortably knowing that they have one gold medal at least. But yeah, I mean, it would be a real shame if we lost again, just because of how much, you know, back and forth we've had with other
Oh,
countries, not even other countries, but with, you know, everyone in general about how competitive the level of basketball is here in the States. So we've always kind of had that mindset towards FIBA World Cup as like, we don't really need to do that because we have the best here in the States. And to an extent, I really do agree. I do think that it's kind of like the UFC because I saw this thing that was like, you know, when UFC fighters win a championship, they say, "Oh, you're you know you're a world champion of this weight class or whatever you'd have it." And in a lot of ways, I think that it's very similar to the NBA because of the fact that you're pulling the best of the best. As much as people want to say, "Oh, you know, a lot of teams draft from here in the States, this and that," it's true for sure. But if there's a unicorn across seas that they find playing somewhere in Serbia or somewhere in the middle of nowhere, they're gonna bring him over to play in the NBA. And I feel like that's why we see so many you know, fantastic players coming out of again overseas and other countries. Um, but yeah, I mean, we'll just have to see how it goes. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think that FIBA basketball is probably one of the most boring things to watch, right up there with golf. I would probably rather cut my own fingernails off or rip them off than watch a full length FIBA game. Um, and I have a lot of thoughts about that. But yeah, going forward, we'll see how well this team does next year. It's going to be pretty much an all star team up lineup, and we'll see how it goes.
so I looked it up. This is what I meant to say is Steph Curry, he has never played in the Olympic Games, but he's played in the FIBA World Cups in 2010 and 2014. Next year is the Olympic basketball.
Okay.
And how
Yeah, I was
often does Olympic basketball happen?
Hmm?
it's every 4 years, whenever the Olympics are.
Okay, so that's like the more what's the what important one, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a part of the Olympic Games, so I would definitely prefer that over like a FIBA World Cup. But
Right.
it's definitely something cool to add to your resume. So I don't know why these players wouldn't want to add one. A lot of great players do. But if I had to like ballpark a starting lineup for like a God squad, you guys can definitely chime in too. But I would probably to send out there for the Olympics, I'd probably send out Curry, Booker, KD, Bron, and Anthony Davis. I feel like that's a very solid starting lineup that they can just send out there.
Nobody's stopping that.
Yeah, definitely not. I'm in. And then off the bench, we have guys we can bring in like Tatum, Anthony Edwards. I know I saw another potential lineup for Tyrese Halliburton. They can definitely they can form a God squad, like 100%. Whatever
Uh,
team they throw out there, as long as they have like some stars out there, superstars, they will definitely win.
Well, for LeBron to be like wanting back into the Olympics, like they're all pissed off that they lost this year. So they want to go out and prove that USA basketball still is what it is and that we should be number one.
Yeah, I feel like everyone definitely knows that too. I mean, this definitely was not the best USA team that they could have sent out there, but players don't like to play because of injury, rest. It was a very young team they sent out this year, not a whole lot of veterans. So when they get some veterans out there, especially superstars, like the greatest player ever, the greatest three-point shooter ever, one of the greatest scorers ever, they just won't be beaten. It's plain and simple.
So I saw this funny tweet that I want to pull up. It was Team USA. They put Anthony Edwards out there, Tyrese Halliburton, Austin Reeves, and they're like, "We sent our C team." And then it was like Serbia. They put out no Nikola Jokic, no NBA All Stars, plumbers, cooks, electricians, and they got a silver medal.
Yeah, I mean, also that kind of just relates to a completely different style of play when you look at overseas ball and then American or NBA basketball. Like it's a lot more team oriented. Also, like what a lot of people don't think about is the rules when it comes to international play compared to NBA rules. Because in international play, there's no defensive 3 seconds. You can all just sit in the paint. So you really do have to hit your shots and space out the floor a lot more, which I feel like USA can definitely do with the players, the better players that they can send out there. Also, there's no goaltending. So say if the ball's bouncing around the rim, you can slap it out, which I love that rule, by the way. I feel like they should definitely implement that in the NBA. I feel like they will at some point. But yeah, it's a completely different game, completely different ball, I guess. People like to complain about that. How like the ball's different. It might be feel different colors. I remember hearing De'Aaron Fox talk about like when he first joined the NBA, like he had to learn how to shoot the NBA Spalding basketball is like so different compared to everything he ever shot. So yeah, it actually is a completely different game, especially the ways that the other teams play.
It's definitely an
Who's going to be
adjustment.
coaching that team next year?
I'd probably say Steve Kerr. I mean, he coached them this year and they did pretty well. I mean, they looked like they played well. Unfortunately, they just didn't have the best talent out there. Coach K of Duke, he was the Olympic team, but he's retired now, so I feel like he won't come out for that. So I feel like it would definitely go to Steve Kerr. That's probably the best coach they can send out there.
You think
Uh,
they?
with
No, I was not.
with
Never mind.
with this level of firepower, yeah, you definitely want to have someone that's proven themselves to coach well while having multiple stars, and we've seen that with Clay and Curry, and KD and Curry, and now or Chris Paul, Curry, and Clay. So, yeah, I mean, I think that that's probably going to be one of the better coaches or better situations that can be set up for them going into next year.
Yeah,
So
for
for
sure.
next year, I saw Rudy Gay commented and said that they should hold tryouts to play on Team USA. Do you think that because they used to do this, do you think this is necessary to play on the team now?
I think so. I feel like I said, the starting lineup, I feel like they can pretty much set in stone. But for like that second team, that second group they bring on, it can definitely help them. Like I said earlier, they're going to need some star players to play a role rather than being the number one option. So seeing which guys can kind of fit those roles a lot better than others, I feel like it would be very necessary, and it would better their chances of winning because these guys are going to go out there and compete against each other because obviously they want to make the team. So I definitely feel like they should hold some type of tryout. I feel like it'd be very necessary.
I think next year it's necessary, but say like this is LeBron's last year. How many people, or I mean, how many NBA players are going to want to play after this? So do you think after this year, do you think they're going to need to keep holding on tryouts?
Probably, yeah, just because it's going to be a whole other like generation of ball players. Like, because after this Olympics, we won't see Curry, we won't see KD, we probably won't see Anthony Davis, we won't see LeBron. So while these younger guys, as they're gaining experience, they're going to want to beat each other. I mean, the FIBA World Cup team they sent out right now, everyone was kind of near the same age. And I don't really know like how if they held tryouts or what the competition was like to make the team, but they did leave out some notable guys like Trey Young, who if they did hold a tryout, he definitely would have made the squad.
I
Yeah.
think what's interesting about the idea of a tryout is I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think these NBA players are really motivated, or sorry, are the opposite of motivated. When you look at just kind of their general mannerisms and the way that they play over the course of a long season and even in the playoffs, it's very hard to catch them at a time where they are motivated by like pride for the shirt or pride for the jersey or pride for the country in this case. I think that even with what's going on now, I think it's more of a pride thing. I think that these players are like, yeah, they're talking all this shit, but we're still the best. We're still the best. And I think that that could be detrimental if they were to hold the tryouts. I mean, like Kevin said, the starting five positions are probably going to be locked in no matter what. Players won't have to try out for those. But let's say that they did, or that in order to get players to play for the national team, they'd have to go through, like you guys said, a tournament bracket type of thing, or just a tryout. A lot of them are going to lose motivations. I mean, realistically, if you were sitting, making, I'll use this number for example, 14 million a year, are you really going to be motivated to play well in a national tournament where not only could you get hurt, but also like there's 40 other guys that could take your place? In other words, like the job can be done by anyone, really, realistically, on that national team. Now, this year proved that maybe that's not necessarily true. But yeah, I think that if you were to hold a tryout for NBA players, you would see a big drop off in the amount of people that are interested. And that's saying something considering that there's already not enough players interested.
I don't really think so though, because like Vic said, they've always done trials before. And Team USA has made the Olympics and also has not won in previous years. One of the years they lost to Argentina when Ginobili was in his prime. So I definitely feel like it's going to be necessary. Obviously, like, okay, LeBron, KD, Curry, and AD will probably be safe, regardless of how bad they are at the tryout. You can't leave those guys off the team. Why I think it's most important is, like I said earlier, is that second team who can fill a role better than some other guys can.
What do you guys think is the main component for why USA has struggled this year? I mean, we've addressed the obvious, the different ball changes, rule changes, but I mean, that really it should do a lot, but what the critiques that other countries are having over the NBA is to me true, right? You are supposed to be the hub of basketball. How the hell do you end up with a third place medal, in a tournament like this?
I mean, I think
I
it's
would say
like a little bit
experience.
of.
I feel like
Sorry, go.
they kind of like lacked experience. Like none of those guys on the team this year ever played in the Olympics. Maybe only played one session of FIBA basketball before. All those guys were relatively young. They're still trying to prove themselves in the NBA, let alone go out there and win a gold medal against veteran teams like Germany and Serbia who have been playing with each other for years. A lot of these guys on the USA team, they don't even play each other. They play against each other all year. So they definitely have to learn that. And that just comes with age. Like I said, they're young, learning how to play with other stars. It's not going to be easy at first because all these guys have been the number one option most of their life, high school, college, and even when they got to the NBA and they were high draft picks. So I feel like it's just experience at this point and kind of just learning how to play with each other the way that these other countries do.
I think another thing too is I really like that point that Kevin added is the experience. But another thing too that people often kind of forget because they put USA basketball on such a pedestal is that the world is getting really good at basketball. Like we're starting to see a lot of superstars in the NBA come from Europe or Asia or Australia, all over the world. And we saw Canada do really good this year with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Dylan Brooks even dropped 40 in a game, which was insane. And freaking Giannis, he's on Greece, Luka's on Slovenia, and just there's just so much immense talent everywhere.
So, on the other side of that question, I would also ask, what do you guys think that the foreign teams are doing better or good in comparison to our national team? And I did want to make the point that while I was watching some FIBA basketball recently, unfortunately, what I noticed is that it seems that our style of basketball really fixates or really relies heavily on shooting percentages and how efficient you are at the 3-point line. And what I mean by that is because obviously that seems pretty cut forward and straight, but it was interesting. While I was watching the game, our style of play is to find the open man, right? You either find him on the block, at the corner, top of the key, whatever. Find the open man, let him shoot that shot. If he doesn't make that shot, though, that's a missed opportunity. And then our whole style of play just goes poof, right? We'll try to get the rebound, but that whole like 10 seconds that was going on our side of the court was solely just trying to get one guy open and trying to get one shot. Versus overseas basketball, what I've noticed is that they're pretty much, I mean, obviously, same thing. It's a given. They're looking for the open man, but they don't care about that first shot, right? They will try to find that open man. He takes a shot, but it's boom, right to the rebound or and put back. Or if there's no open shot and if it's a little contested, sometimes they won't even shoot it. They'll just, drive into the paint, or they'll pass it off for someone that's cutting the lane. Now that's not necessarily true all the time. I did also see randomly this dude take a Nikola Jokic shot, and he was like completely contested, turns around, shoots. But he does that when it's a buzzer beater and he has no time. If it wasn't a buzzer beater, if he wasn't constricted, he would have looked for that next pass. So to me, I guess what I'm getting at is, it seems like NBA basketball is way too contingent on like, that's our guy, he's gonna get us the bucket. If he doesn't, like, that shouldn't be how you play, right? Now I understand you guys may have disagreements, but that's at least what I saw from that game.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much said it with the style of play. They're completely different. I think another thing too is kind of just playing with integrity. Like a lot of these other countries are sending out their best players. Like when they put on their nation's uniform, like they want to go out there and win. They're going to do whatever they can. A lot of these people rather have a gold medal than an NBA championship. To them, it means more. And a lot of these other countries, pretty much every other country, they want to beat USA. USA is the top dog. They know that. Everyone knows that. When they're playing against USA, they view it as they have nothing to lose, because they don't. They don't have anything to lose. They're playing the most dominant country that there's ever been. I mean, basketball started in America. So as opposed to Team USA playing like they have everything to lose. So I feel like that's just another big part of it too, is just the heart that these other countries have over that the USA has.
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but that's a really good point. I mean, if I was an NBA player and I was comparatively holding up, would I rather win an NBA championship, or would I rather have a FIBA, gold medal or whatever championship thing they get? I would take the NBA championship 100 times out of 100. So yeah, that's a good point.
A lot of people disagree, though. Luka Doncic even said he'd rather have an Olympic gold medal than an NBA championship. To him, it means more to win a gold medal for Slovenia than it does winning an NBA championship for the Dallas Mavericks. Now, obviously, everyone doesn't think like that, but this is one of the top players we have in the NBA. So when he buys in, the rest of his team is going to buy in. They're going to want to beat these top dog teams.
Right. And like you said, I mean, it comes down heavily to like pride and how much you care about, your nationalism, I guess.
And I feel like they're playing together as one too. Is if you watch, like they're playing more of like a team basketball.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you watch, even a few seconds of FIBA basketball, and it looks like the most perfect ran high school offense in the world. Like if you took a high school offense and you implemented it into high level basketball with good basketball players, that's what it looks like. That's at least how I viewed it.
That's right.
I know Kevin didn't like that one.
I mean, you're kind of right in a way, as much as I hate to say it. But like these four teams simply just play better team ball.
Yeah.
Like in the NBA, like when you beat your guy, no one's in the paint. Overseas, there's no defensive 3 seconds. Like I said earlier, when you beat your guy, you have 2 7-footers in there that you either have to somehow score on or dish it out. So they just learn a completely different level of play. They're a lot more team oriented rather than isolation. So we know that the NBA players are very, 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 very talented on the court, but some of them try to be very talented off the court with some of their side quests. So one of the more popular things that NBA players in past history have tried doing is rapping. We don't know why. We don't listen to it. But we thought it'd be kind of fun to discuss some of the top NBA rappers ever. So I'm going to give you guys my top 3 and who I think has decent bars, because I don't think any of them are good. They're not. But at third, I'm going to go Miles Bridges. He had that one song, I think it was called 27 Days. Decent song, decent beat. We know he could probably rap if he never makes it back in the league, if he can stop putting his hands on his girl. So I'm gonna leave that there. Hey, I didn't fucking do it. I didn't make him do it. He did it.
Wait, who did you mention again?
Miles Bridges
Oh,
on the
because you saw what
Hornets.
happened to Kevin Porter Jr., right?
Yeah.
That's a story for another time. Bro might get shot. But second, I'm gonna go with Dame. Dame has made a lot of music in the past. He kind of has like an older rap style to him. He's pretty decent. Hopefully he stops getting injured because that gives him more time to make music, and we don't need that. We need you on the court, bro. And then top NBA rapper who I actually think is decent. I even listened to him in high school a couple of times before games, JV games, of course, is Lonzo. You know, he had that song ZO2's. He had another song called Zio Get Off. He kind of made more of like modern day rap music. That's where like his inspiration came from. But yeah, those are kind of my top three picks ranking NBA players that try to rap. Lonzo, Dame, Bridges. Message to kind of you guys out there: stay healthy so you can stay out the studio. Let me know y'all's picks.
Damn.
I'll go next. So at number 3, oh gosh, I wish, because Diesel doesn't count, I don't
He
think, but
does.
okay, if he does, then I'm gonna count him because Shaq's number 3. All right, I've heard some of his music and it's horrible, it's atrocious, but it's not terrible. I think he dropped one song recently that I saw on Instagram and it was all right. It wasn't anything crazy. But yeah, I'm gonna go Diesel number 3. At number 2, I'm gonna go Lou Williams because according to my very vague research that I did on NBA rappers, Lou Williams has apparently been doing it for, I think, the longest. And not only that, he's also one of the people, they say that like he is constant. He's a very big like music person, so he likes to be in the studio. He likes to do all that stuff. So I'll give him that. Sure as hell won't put Lonzo on there. I don't know what Kevin was thinking. I think he just likes Lonzo. Lonzo should be 45th on this list, and there isn't even more than 10 rappers, I don't think, for the NBA. And then at number 1, I'm gonna go Dame. Yeah, Damian is he's all right, and that's about all we can say about these guys. Really, is that they're all right.
I mean,
So
Definitely not getting out the league with this one.
the reason that I had Lonzo at number one is because his music didn't make me want to eat chalk. It was like the least that made me want to do some dumb shit. That's why he was number one to me.
That's fair.
he
Out of everyone
chalk.
on this list, I feel like if anyone would understand like current pop culture and like what we would like, it's probably Lonzo.
Right.
He even said Nas was some shit. He got backlash for that.
He didn't say
But
he was shit. He said no one listens to him anymore.
oh,
Which
that's
in
what he.
my day and age, like, okay, do any of you guys listen to Nas? I've listened to his best album. I don't say I listen to Nas. I have listened
I
to him. All right, in a
I
way.
only
It's a
so
different, different era.
I only hear from people that listen to Nas about how much they listen to Nas. Other than that, no.
He is one of the greatest rappers ever. I'm not going to discredit him for that, but like, you know, it was a long time ago. I grew up in this generation. This is what I was listening to, like the current day, like people right now.
But for my top three, I had to go KD at 3. If you listen to that leak of KD and LeBron where they made a song together, KD wasn't bad. And I think that if he got in the studio more, I think maybe that he has the potential to have like good bars. He likes to be on his phone a lot, likes to tweet, likes to interact with people on social media. Shit, he saw our Instagram story, so I think he'd have some fire diss tracks. Number 2, I would have to go with Lou Williams. I really liked his remix with I'm a Boss, and I think he has some good potential at rapping. I could see him definitely doing that. He was a great player on the court, but I don't know if rapping's his thing. That and then number 1, I would have to say Damian Lillard. I mean, I feel like everybody has Damian Lillard on the number 1.
I don't know if we don't have to do this, but can we name a worst? I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I'm thinking if you guys say one, I'll probably be like, yeah, he's definitely the worst.
LeBron,
I think Andre Drummond. Yeah,
Andre
LeBron
Drummond,
was bad.
Andre Drummond some
LeBron's
shit
was
too.
bad.
Honestly, Andre Drummond some shit too. I'm gonna be honest. They're both horrible. Like,
Wait,
bro, I'm a billionaire, bro. Why you trying to rap?
who was the one you guys said was you liked it though, Kevin? The
No,
37 days,
That was Miles
37
Bridges.
nights. That shit sucked.
That wasn't okay, but did you hear LeBron's, bro?
No, LeBron's is worse for sure.
Fucking horrible.
But in my head, I'm just thinking, like, honestly, it's kind of a catchy tune. 37 days,
Exactly. Like it was catchy. It wasn't
37
good,
nights.
but catchy. Like I listened to the song, I was like, all right, like it's horrible, but like I'm gonna remember this hook.
It's like torture, yeah.
Yeah, it's like torture. Another honorable mention that we didn't discuss, another NBA player that raps who was actually kind of decent. I don't think he makes music anymore. Was Marvin Bagley. He made a lot of music when he was at Duke. He always posted on SoundCloud a lot, and I did tune in here and there. But then he dropped a shit song, and I was like, nah, this ain't it. And now he's shit at basketball. Goes full circle.
but Obi was
Happens.
also on the list too, and
Kobe did. He made some songs
yeah,
back in.
I think Shaq got him beat there on the music making.
If Bradley Beal was on this list, if he made music, he'd probably be at the number one spot.
What?
That's just my
Why?
opinion.
Oh,
I would not like to elaborate further. I just think that he would
Bradley
be,
would be tough.
yeah.
I think Caruso would be tough since we're spitting bullshit.
oh, Caruso. I think he'd be really good at making beats. He doesn't look like he could. He doesn't look like he could rap, but he looks like he can make a fire beat.
Hey, Caruso got arrested though a couple years ago in
Man.
Texas for weed.
Hey, you think he made a first day out?
That's what I was just about to say, bro. Like he has something to rap about for real. Like,
Well, that was kind of.
hop in.
I don't think I was thinking of the.
He has Lonzo as a
right.
teammate. Perfect.
They can make
Perfect.
trash music together.
And then go play trash basketball. It's so fun.
In the city of Chicago too. Why not?
Bro, it's made.
Hey, who do you guys think would win in a rap battle?
Caruso or Lonzo?
No, like out of the players we named.
None of them. They'd both shit their pants and then
No, like
fucking-
if there was a bracket of like the NBA players that rap, who do you think would win the rap battle?
Probably just Dame, honestly. Like,
yeah, probably.
I feel like he probably makes the most music out of all these guys.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna change my answer. Maybe Lou, just because of like I said earlier. I mean, they say he's big into music and he spends a lot of time in there. I feel like for Dame and maybe some other of these guys, like there's not a thought going on in those heads. You know what I mean? They got to be thinking about basketball. So to me, you know, somebody that would be able to come up with shit off the dome, it'd probably be Lou Williams.
I think it's Iman Shumpert. When I was doing research on this, Lou Williams said that Iman Shumpert is a really good freestyler and he would win in a rap battle against all of them. He'd beat Damian Lillard. So I'm gonna go with Iman just off of Lou Williams' word.
I will say that Iman is probably one of the most like he has. I think people always say this, like he explains stuff so well, and he is such a good storyteller when he's talking about like you know playing against Kobe, playing against or sorry, playing against LeBron. So I don't know. I guess I see where you're coming from. Iman Shumpert's got a way with words.
All right, now back to the important stuff, talking about basketball players playing basketball. There's a lot of great players out there that never even made an all-star team. And one of the players I had in mind that should have made many all-star teams, but they never did is Lou Williams. In career average, this guy averaged 19, 3, and 5 off the bench. So the fact that this dude never made an all-star team, I feel like there definitely could have been some years, especially the years that he played with the Clippers and the Raptors, to where he could have made it. 3-time NBA Sixth Man of the Year, tied with Jamal Crawford, won it back in 2018 and 2019. At this point, I feel like they should name the award after him or Jamal Crawford. You could argue both. But Lou Williams is probably one of the best scorers that we've ever seen. You can argue and say that he's one of the best players to ever come off the bench in NBA's history just because of his averages that he's always put up. He was always a really good player in all the years that he played. Like I said, the consistency and career average of 19, 3, and 5. Had he had been a starter for most of his career, his numbers would have definitely been bigger. And I feel like at that point, he would have absolutely, definitely made an all-star team in one of his years. But 19-3-5 off the bench for your whole entire career to me is honestly insane. That the longevity he had, the consistency is he had. I feel like there definitely could have been some years where he made an NBA All-Star team, especially with the past recent years, seeing the players that make the team. I can't remember if it was last year, or the year before that, that Andrew Wiggins was an All-Star starter. Purely, it's pretty much off of votes. Could he have been an all-star that year? Yeah, possibly. But an all-star starter, to me, it was kind of a joke to have Andrew Wiggins in there. But yeah, like I said, one of those years that Lou Williams was at his best, I feel like he should have and definitely could have made an all-star team.
So for my pick, I had Jamal Crawford, another one of those six man of the years that Kevin had with Lou Williams. His best season with the Knicks, he averaged 20 points, 2 rebounds, 5 assists, and a steal. And he was a starter, played 80 games. He is known for having one of the best crossovers, or I mean, dribble moves that the NBA has ever seen. And he was a really good role player during his career, and he definitely could have made an all-star during his time when he was on the Knicks and during his seasons that he played after that when he was winning the six man of the years. He could have possibly made a case for getting on the all-star team as well.
Yeah, so for my picks, I got two. I got number one, Richard Jefferson. Why? No reason. I just like Richard Jefferson, man. He's a good dude, and I feel like he always gets shit on because he doesn't have like any real accolades to support him being a good player. But he was always there. I mean, he was always on in the NBA, in the grid of it, playing as a role player. But I think he was important to some of the teams that he was on. Kind of in the mid 21st century, whenever the hell I'm 2000s, right? And then also my second pick is going to be Tony Kukoc. And the reason why I say him is because, just looking at kind of how important he was to that second three-peat that the Bulls had. I often hear a lot of people when they're talking about, LeBron wouldn't have won without Pippen. Pippen wouldn't have won without LeBron. They wouldn't have won without Rodman. A lot of times the fourth name that comes into that conversation is Kukoc. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that it's kind of surprising you win, 3 NBA championships and still no All-Star. Interesting.
An
I'm
honorable
so
mention. What do you
when
say,
did
Kev?
Pippen? I said I'm horribly confused. When did Pippen play with LeBron?
Did I say LeBron at some point?
You said LeBron wouldn't have won without Pippen.
Oh
He's
my
won.
God.
He won 4 rings without Scottie Pippen.
Jordan wouldn't have won without.
Scottie won 6 without LeBron.
I didn't
Fucking
even
hill.
catch that.
I didn't either. I was the one who was saying it and I didn't even realize it. Damn. Well, you know what I meant.
Honorable mention I want to say was Rod Strickland. He is one of the few players on who's never made a all-star game that made an all NBA team during that year. He made one of his best years. He was the third team all NBA and didn't make an all-star game that year, which he could have definitely made. And he's Kyrie's godfather, and Kyrie learned a lot from him.
Kind of a runner-up player that I had in mind, who still is playing. I think he might have a chance. Is Mike Conley. Those years, like he was very successful in his years at Memphis. He led the Memphis Grizzlies to 7 playoff appearances. I feel like some of the years he definitely could have made an All-Star appearance. Shit, at one point he was the highest paid player in NBA history, and he wasn't even an All-Star that year. So that year, I think it was like 2012, 2013. I feel like he definitely could have made an All-Star appearance that year. And another player I have in mind is Mike Bibby. Very important to the early 2000s Sacramento teams. I mean, they made the conference finals against the Lakers. His best season, he averaged 21, 2 and 5. He's one of those players that he's everything you want in a point guard, very good on the defensive end, good scorer, great facilitator. I think Mike Bibby definitely could have had a year where he made the All-Star team, especially in the early 2000s when Sacramento was really good, when they had like Chris Webber on the team, as well as Peja Stojakovic. So I feel like he could have definitely squeezed in some years.
So do you guys think that there's anybody else in the NBA currently today that has not made an all-star team that should, because I think Jamal Murray is number one on that list, and then behind them is probably CJ McCollum.
Yeah, I probably agree. Jamal Murray, unfortunately, he had that injury that kind of happened right in the middle of his prime. He still is in his prime. I feel like I don't want to say he's kind of getting his groove back. So I feel like his groove is definitely back. I mean, he just won an NBA championship, played out of his mind the whole entire playoffs. This year, this upcoming season, 2023-2024 season, I do believe he will be an all-star. The Nuggets are kind of on their high horse right now. They seem to have figured it out. I think they're going to be around for a while, and we're going to see kind of Jamal Murray take that extra step because he already did take that extra step in the playoffs and in the finals. He was, like I said, he was just playing out of his mind. So I believe this is the year that Jamal Murray makes it.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. He's definitely a shoe-in for this year. If he even plays a quarter of how well he played in the playoffs, I think he'll be. I mean, I wouldn't be mad if he was a starter. Honestly, I wouldn't. He to me, he's in that conversation of some of the best NBA players that are currently active right now. And so much of it comes down to what you're able to do in the playoffs. I mean, I know we've talked in length about how regular season does matter. You know, playoffs isn't the biggest deal in the world, but if you can perform well when it counts, that says a lot about you as an individual and how high caliber of an athlete you are. So my picks would be the same, by the way. Jamal Murray and
Yeah, I can't really think of anyone else other than Jamal Murray.
See, another thing too is like we gotta understand the NBA is getting a lot more competitive, and we're gonna probably see this a lot too, is where there's gonna be all-star snubs. I remember you guys probably remember as well too, Devin Booker was a all-star game snub, or was it a starter? He was a snub for a while. I remember he was making that point across clear. Do you remember if it was a starter or all-star game?
I think he wasn't named an all-star at all.
Yeah.
And I
So
think even this season he was a fill-in for a player that got injured. I
oh
still don't think.
shit.
Yeah, he's had a couple years where he got snubbed. Honestly, like it wasn't just like a past year thing. Like I remember 3 seasons ago he should have made it. The season after that he should have made it absolutely. But yeah, it's kind of crazy. He kind of doesn't get the respect that he deserves.
well,
But
it is correct me if I'm wrong. I was under the impression that they choose the. Well, I guess it changed recently. I thought it used to be fan based, and now it's picks based on like the guy or the captain.
Think they do a mix of fan voting and then NBA like player votes or some shit.
Okay. Well, so then my point was going to be that Devin Booker is just not the most vocal player, I feel like, in terms of he's not someone that you love to watch. I mean, he's a great athlete. As a basketball player, when you're watching him on the court, he's good and you like to watch him in that respect, but he doesn't fire you up. He doesn't get you excited to watch Phoenix basketball at all. He actually makes you want to not have Phoenix basketball as your team, probably. But I don't know. I think that Devin Booker is a phenomenal athlete, but I don't hate the fact that he's been snubbed out of the All-Star games. I mean, who the hell would have noticed? We always have a stacked lineup.
so we're nearing the start of the NBA season. We have about a month left until the 2023-2024 NBA season starts. I know you guys are very excited. I can say for you guys are definitely excited as well. Um, Kind of expected a little bit more noise this year with the trade with guys like Damian Lillard and James Harden. They still don't have a home yet. I mean, they're on teams, but they probably definitely will not return to the team or even training camp when that time comes around. So we're still waiting on that. We're still waiting on that Woj bomb, but probably won't come for a little bit, maybe not even till the All-Star break. But one trade that I've seen kind of blown up around on Twitter is the Atlanta Hawks making a trade for Pascal Siakam and what that could possibly look like. So the Hawks definitely have to make a move. I mean, they were in the Eastern Conference Finals a few years ago. People kind of called it a Cinderella run, but hey, they made it. They beat 2 or 3 teams in order to make it to the conference finals. It's impressive how far they took them. And then the Toronto Raptors got rid of their head coach. Fred VanVleet isn't there anymore. He just signed to the Houston Rockets, so they're kind of in like a weird rebuilding spot right now. So trading Siakam and getting something from the Atlanta Hawks can definitely help them a little bit. But something that I had in mind is since they do lack a guard, they could do a package for Pascal Siakam and DeJounte Murray. So DeJounte Murray going to Toronto and then Pascal Siakam coming to Atlanta. And both teams would very much benefit from this trade because Toronto's lacking at point guard right now. Van Fleet did kind of play that point guard role. He averaged a lot of assists this year, but they don't really have a true point guard. So having DeJounte Murray in there, he's great on ball defense. He's great at making plays, scoring the ball. They have great forwards in Scotty Barnes, who's basically their future. And they also have another good guard in Gary Trent, who I guess technically plays point guard, but he kind of plays more of like a shooting guard role he did in college and he kind of does in the NBA. And they also do have OG Anunoby as a forward, who is really good for them. He's one of the better on-ball defenders in the NBA. As far as the Atlanta Hawks, getting another stretch forward really helped them, losing John Collins this past offseason. Also, just getting another big in there that can score. They kind of do lack like that number 2 player that can go and get them a bucket. I know they do currently have DeJounte Murray and Trae Young, but I feel like this duo is kind of underwhelming in some sense. They haven't really made too much noise. So kind of getting not so much focusing on getting another guard that can be the number 2 option, but rather a forward who can space the floor and be able to defend at bigger positions.
Yeah, because they were honestly the most average team last year. If you went back and looked at it, they were like 500, and it was crazy. They were like 17-17 in this division. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But
perfectly average.
yeah, it was the most insane thing. You could look it up and look up Hawks being like the most average team last season. It was a wild stat to look at. And I actually do like the DeJounte Murray going to the Raptors but I don't know if the Raptors would ultimately want to give up Siakam like that. But I know that the Raptors, this was the original trade offer. The Hawks actually sent this to them and they declined it. Was that it was DeAndre Hunter, AJ Griffin, and a pick for Pascal Siakam. The Raptors declined that. I mean, I think it was a smart move. I think the only acceptable player that the Raptors would probably take back is DeJounte Murray or maybe even a package with Clint Capella. I really think that Pascal Siakam is a good forward. He's continually improving every year. His numbers are going up. One most improved. I think he could definitely help out that Hawks team, not be as average as they were. I think he'll help them win a couple more games than they actually did last year. And I think he'll give another guy that Trae Young could run pick and rolls with. But I don't know if the Raptors could ever get to agreement done if they don't include DeJounte Murray.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, this is definitely a hard topic for me just because both of these teams really, to me, would not become anything afterwards. And already being at the level that they are right now, they have about that much of my attention and focus. But yeah, I mean, if you look at, kind of what individuals are getting paid, the Hawks are definitely going to have to give up one of their more well established, or not even well established, but one of the players that they've paid good money for. And I think that DeJounte Murray definitely fits on that list. There's other guys too. I think I saw Travis Hunter on that team is getting somewhere around 20 million as a salary per year. And then other than that, I mean, they to me, they're definitely going to have to give up at least 2 of their big names. And I'm trying to think because I had it pulled up, but I know that they had, what was his name? Clint Capella, Travis Hunter, DeJounte Murray, DeAndre Murray. Wait,
No, DeAndre Hunter.
his name is DeAndre Hunter?
Yeah.
Oh, well, point is, I don't think either of these teams would benefit a whole lot from either of these trades going through. I think that the Hawks need a lot of different things. Even within themselves, I think that they have a lot of issues just playing well together. It seems like you really have just kind of Trae Young as the sole or in the limelight of that team, and he's doing his thing, but overall that team I don't think would benefit all that much from Pascal Siakam. I think that they would go from being an all right team that they are right now to being an okay team, which doesn't really mean anything. So yeah, I don't love the idea of either of these teams doing a trade, but if they were, I would say the Hawks would probably be better off adding Pascal Siakam as long as they're not giving up too much. And in terms of, the Raptors, I think that they right now are in a position where they can do a lot of different things, but it doesn't really benefit them to gain Hawks players, in my opinion, any of them, unless it was obviously Trae Young.
There's still a possibility that the Atlanta Hawks move on from Trae Young too. We talked about it in one of our episodes over the summer that Trae Young could possibly end up on the Lakers in a trade, or if he leaves in free agency. So that's definitely something that they're thinking about with his contract expiring in the next couple of years of who they would like to keep around. Definitely either DeJounte Murray or Trae Young. I think they're definitely more on the Trae Young wave than DeJounte Murray. But I feel like this trade, I feel like a straight up, what's most even is a trade just straight up 1-for-1 Siakam for DeJounte Murray. You don't have to throw in any picks in there, any other role players. In a perfect world, that would definitely work, but obviously some draft capital or some money or some other role players are going to get thrown into the mix because it's really hard to make a 1-for-1 trade unless both teams really like the idea. But the Raptors are a good, very solid all-around team. And unfortunately, they did get rid of their coach, Nick Nurse, who I thought was a very good coach. I think he would definitely excel with a player like DeJounte Murray. But speaking as far, I do feel like the Hawks would probably be better off just because their spacing would help out a lot more. They do have a 1-2 punch. Toronto wouldn't really have that with DeJounte Murray because he would probably be the best player on that team if he went there. He would definitely be the best player on the team if he went there.
Yeah.
And so they don't really have like that go-to second option guy the way that Atlanta would if they had Trae Young and Pascal Siakam.
The Hawks were 7th in the Eastern Conference last year. How far do you think they'd go with Pascal Siakam? Raptors were 10th in the Eastern Conference.
I feel like the Hawks would probably be floating around in the same position. I don't really see them getting that much better. Like, yeah, Siakam's a great player. He's an NBA champion. But there's also a lot of really good teams in the East. With the Knicks emerging, they're definitely getting better. They returned their whole team. They're definitely not better than Boston. They're not better than Milwaukee. Depending on if James Harden comes back or not, they could possibly be better than Philly. And I don't think they're better than Brooklyn either. I feel like Brooklyn definitely has them better 1-5 and just as a better overall team in general. So I would see them floating around in the same position. As far as Toronto gaining DeJounte Murray, I would still kind of have them as like a play-in team, maybe as like a 8th or 9th seed in the play-in rather than being last. But yeah, this trade would definitely make each of the teams a little bit better, but it won't shake up the franchise in any way, shape, or form to make them a contender.
Yeah, that's what I feel like too. Like, I don't
I'm going
think
to
either
disagree
team
with both
gets.
of you guys. I'm going to disagree with both of you guys and say that the Hawks are going to go from 7th in the East to 8th. Yep. Badass. No, I don't know why I was so dramatic about that. I agree with Kevin. I mean, with all these different teams kind of coming into their own and just really getting a good sense of how to play team ball, especially in the East when there's just not as many star power teams, I guess you could say, as the West. I think that it's going to be a very competitive next few years in that conference. And with the team that the Hawks have now, even if they were to add Pascal Siakam, I would still see them, like you guys said, in a 7th, or floating around that 7th position, maybe even lower, honestly, is my pick.
So that concludes this week's episode of Good Morning Let's Basketball. We appreciate you guys tuning in once again. We're still on the road to our goal of 100 subscribers, so make sure you guys are liking and subscribing on all of our videos, as well as sharing them with your friends. Be sure to interact with us down in the comments below, as well as our Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, where you will find all of our reels. Be sure to follow us on all of them at Good Morning Let's Basketball, and we'll see you guys next week.